Welcome to the Sports Hangover. I'm Michael Benatar, joined alongside. Today we have Sam Gaffon. So many people wanted you back, Sam. They loved all your stats. You're back for week 2 or week 10 of the NFL. So thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody loved it. There's a lot of comments. You had a lot of facts, a lot of
Really?
insight. You
I did
finally
not.
somebody.
I didn't see the comments. I'm surprised.
Well, you should have listened to the
Pleasantly
last game.
surprised.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you are here. So we both have 5 games we want to talk about this week. We can go back and forth. We power ranked them like 1 through 5. I ranked mine most confident, the least confident. We'll go through those games. I think some of ours match up. Now, what we could do too, Sam, if we're on opposite sides of a game, we could also bet each other and see how much.
Ooh, a little side bet.
So little side bet on the game. So I don't know if we're on opposite sides of any games this week, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Why don't
we
you
didn't
kick?
talk about that yet. I don't.
Why don't you
Maybe we're
kick it
opposing.
off? Yeah, why don't you kick it off with your most confident this week?
My most confident is actually
Yes.
Detroit, LA.
Okay.
So for
Uh,
us, I mean, speaking about our book, what we're talking about
our
with our
contest.
gambling, our contest is -1.5 for Detroit. The big books are
Yep.
at 3, so there's some value there. They're one of the best teams in the NFC. LA looks like crap. I mean, Herbert has one receiver basically, and his second
Yep.
receiver is his running back, Eckler. So I don't see a lot of options for them. The defense isn't that great. I mean, it is an away game for Detroit, but I mean, 1.5 points. They're rolling. They just got off a bye. They're the healthiest they've been all year. David Montgomery is coming back, so I think
Uh,
that
before we started talking, I said, Sam, this game looks way too easy to bet on. It doesn't make sense. I know the line is moved. I like Detroit this week too. I don't know if it's going to enter the contest, but it it seems like so Detroit's coming off a bye, right? Detroit's coming off a bye.
most
Chargers
healthy they've been all
played.
year.
True. Chargers played on Monday night against the Jets. They beat them. It seemed too easy. And then this week they're coming back. And I could see how like the books kind of want to get money on both sides. We haven't seen Detroit play in a while. These games scare me when I feel like I don't understand why the line is where it's at or why it started where it's at. Let me see if I know what the opening line was here. I
I
think it
th-
just opened at 1.5, right?
yeah, the big books are at 3 now. So maybe what's scaring you? I mean, they're away. So think if they were home, big books are at 3. It would be at 4, 4.5, and then probably that'd make more sense for you, right?
Well,
You'd be like,
no,
oh,
if
that
they're
line
at
makes sense.
if they were at home, I guess it would be like 3. Then maybe it makes sense, but still, I don't really know. This game, I didn't know enough. I don't know enough about the Chargers. I don't watch them a lot, and it's weird when you start gambling. I feel like there's teams that you follow a
See,
little more.
this is exactly why the Chargers
Yeah,
don't actually have a home field advantage because the LA guy, doesn't go to games. They don't have a true
it's true.
fan
I
base.
know.
There's probably more people from Detroit living in LA that are going to go to that
Yeah,
game than actual LA Chargers fans.
100%. I am not a Chargers fan. I do not watch the Chargers. I know one person in LA who's a Chargers fan, but I don't. They're from Orange County, so does that even really count? You're not really in LA. You're in Orange County. I guess
Yeah,
they were in San Diego.
it would really be a San Diegoan.
But yeah, this game scares me just because the line seems weird, and when Vegas does weird lines like this, and I think there were some games like that last week where the lines were just a little weird. Um, it doesn't make sense. So like the Ravens Seahawks game last week, I wanted the Seahawks, and obviously they got blown out, and I didn't bet on them. But sometimes the lines don't make sense until that football's on the field and you kind of see the game play out, and you're like, oh, this is why the line was this
It
high.
always makes so much more sense after the day is over and you look
Yes,
back like, oh, that made sense.
yeah, it made sense. I wish I knew that ahead of time. All right, so that was your number one game.
Most confident.
Uh, My most confident game this week is Cincinnati at home. Our line in the contest is -6.5. They're playing Houston. I really like this game just because I feel like I know Cincinnati just beat Buffalo last week, and I know Houston just had that big win. But this is me fading a rookie off one of his like most historic games ever, right? He threw 470 yards. He's excited about all this. And I think a rookie coming into a big game like this in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati does seem to be heating up. I wanted to fade them. I didn't think it was a real thing. I do think it's a real thing now. They're looking really good. And this is me fading the public, fading Houston, and fading a rookie coming into Cincinnati. So that was all my fades on this game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I like Cincy a lot. It is a lot of points, but fading a rookie on the road. If you look back, he really only plays well at home. Now he's going to Cincinnati. It's probably going to be cold. It's going to be outside. I don't see him throwing for nearly 500 yards again, like he did against Tampa, which I had to watch every play.
Yeah, that was a tough game. Houston should have covered that.
Yeah, but at the same time, one of our best corners went out on concussion protocol, like first drive. Carlton Davis got beat all day. It made no sense. I don't know. It was a weird day. But either way, I agree. Fade the rookie. He's not going to put up the same numbers. He's going against a way better defense right now in the cold, where he doesn't play well on the road. Since he's
we got to check the weather.
Do
you see what the weather is out there? Is it snowing, raining, cold, windy?
I haven't checked, but it's Cincinnati, so it's going to be outside and cold, and that goes against everything he's played well against. He plays well at home, which is in a dome.
Yeah, it's like Jared Goff. That's at least how I used to fade dome teams. Like when Indy used to come down to Jacksonville, there's a stat out there that every time Indy comes down to Jacksonville, they lose, even if they're a good team or starting the season. So dome teams are definitely like a little weird when it comes to outdoor weather.
But what do you got for it's interesting. Yeah. So real quick on that one. So Cincinnati is like a pretty medium ranked defense, but they're top 5 against the run. And obviously, so Houston is all pass. So CJ is going to probably do well, but can he outscore Joe? Probably not. But 6.5 is a lot.
It is a lot of points. And it's tough too. A lot of times you don't want to go with these like big favorites. Like this week, I know Dallas is playing New York. I really wanted to play New York, like Dallas this week, but I'm not confident enough, but I have seen Danny DeVito, whatever his name is, play, and it's pretty bad. I'm not taking that game, but it's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points. I don't have Dak's he's on a roll, but they've been up and down all year. And they started off really slow. Divisional game. I don't know, 16.5 is a lot.
It's a lot of points. All right. Who's your second most confident game this week?
Second most is New Orleans at Minnesota.
Okay, I like it.
I think Taysom Hill solved Derek Carr's terrible problem of being bad in the red zone.
They play Derek Carr. That's the answer.
No, they're utilizing their best weapon in the red zone. Finally, Derek Carr is mediocre to bad in the red zone. He's a good quarterback. He throws for a lot of yards. They have good receivers. They have Alvin Kamara. They have all these weapons, but they can't score in the end zone for whatever his issues are. If you look back the last 3 weeks, they've used Taysom Hill very effectively, specifically in the red zone. They're playing better. I think Minnesota's a little overhyped over the win last week. Josh Dobbs can now be game planned against. Like most of his great plays, which he played great, were running plays. So if they just game plan against him running, he hasn't been there very long to really do a lot of pass work. So I think New Orleans has got a good D. It's a good points. We're at 2.5 in our book. That's good value.
This is where I start overthinking it. Like last week, New Orleans didn't cover. They should have covered, but they didn't. A lot of games I was on last week that really pissed me off because I lost by 0.5 point, and I did not like that. New Orleans scares me just because, yes, we know Josh Dobbs is now in Minnesota. He played really well for not even knowing the playbook, not like literally practicing snaps before he went in just to get his cadence with the center.
But that's what he does, though. That's what he did. He came in day one and played well. But if you watched a little bit of that game, most of the big plays were on his feet. They were running the ball. So New Orleans, which is a good D, game plans that and takes that away. How well do you think Josh Dobbs plays against a good defense?
I don't know. Sometimes I know everybody says New Orleans has a good defense, but every time I see them play the Raiders, play all these teams, it doesn't seem like their defense is that good. So I'm just worried because, yes, you game plan for the big things that Josh Dobbs did last week, but can you game plan for him actually throwing and understanding the playbook? So that's what worries me. There is an ounce of unknownness in that Minnesota line. And also, I mean, the public's all over it, so that already makes me not want to bet Minnesota. But it does scare me a little bit just because you don't really know I mean, technically, you know the ceiling of Josh Dobbs. You've seen him in Arizona. He can play well. I think there might be more talented people around him in Minnesota.
So
I'm not trying to like push
do
you
you know
off.
Josh
Tell me.
Dobbs? Do you know Josh Dobbs? Because look, at first you look at it and it intrigues you to go for Minnesota.
Of
Because New Orleans
course,
been
yeah.
iffy. Josh Dobbs as a starter is 1-9. And we're talking
But
about a game at two and a
hold
half
on.
points.
Yeah, but you could still cover. What is he against the spread? I think he's actually pretty good against the spread this season.
That's a good question. I don't know.
See, we're not talking winners and losers here. We're talking what's the point? And 2.5 is a weird line. Like if it was 3, I might lean to Minnesota here, but the 2.5 means you could get that hook and win on a field goal. And sure, I know New Orleans is playing better. This game scares me. I get it. I also lean New Orleans, but it does scare me because I got screwed last week out of like 3 games with that half point. And now the half point's coming into play. Early in the season, it wasn't really a factor in a lot of the bigger games. They were blowouts. They were clear winners. And in these games lately, the lines are shrinking, getting really sharp, and it is a lot harder because you could say, yes, New Orleans is a better team. They're playing better, but there is that unknown with Minnesota, and that scares me. And I want to see where the line goes. I'm going to check where it is right now. It's still at 2.5. 70% of the money right now is on the Saints. So we'll see where that goes. But
keep it simple. It's New Orleans. Taysom Hill's another 2-touchdown day. They cover.
I know. All right. So my second most confident game this week, I'm going with Cleveland. I have a fun stat here for so Cleveland's at Baltimore. Baltimore is favored by 5.5.
This is a tough one. I don't.
So I got a fun stat. This is going to sway you. This is a trend line here.
All right, let's hear it.
Harbaugh, a favorite of 3.5 or more. He is 5-14 against the spread. Also, this is a division game. I love some division dogs. 5.5 for Cleveland. I think they have a good defense. Deshaun's back, playing well. I think Baltimore is kind of peaking out. They had a huge game last week against Seattle. And I feel like they're kind of like a up and down team because they kind of go up and down. They score a lot. They don't really cover the next game. I'm hoping this is it. They also played them really well like 3 weeks ago or whatever it was. Wasn't they played like 3-4 weeks ago when Watson was out?
Yeah,
I thought
it's a different day.
Ravens
were not firing like they are now. Like I know the stat. I saw some of the same stats with Harbaugh and Lamar, both as a favorite, and they're not good. But this is a different Ravens team. Okay. They look so different than they did in the past. The defense is so much better. Lamar is playing so much better as a quarterback and not just a running quarterback. I don't see them being slowed down. But I'm not betting this one. It's too tough. I mean, these are 2 really good Ds. Baltimore, I think, is just the better team overall. But do they cover? I don't know.
It's a lot of points. A lot of points especially in division games. Division games are always tight. Like if the Bucks play the Saints or if Carolina plays they're always close games. Those division teams know each other really well. They play them well. I'm hoping this is a close game. Somebody can win by 3. Cleveland covers the game. That's all I need.
I lean Baltimore, but I'm not betting this one. I think
are we going to bet each other?
Ooh, this is the one we should do it on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll bet you. Well, let's keep it low. We'll say the amount next week when we figure out how much we're betting each game. We have to have like a standard amount to bet. Not $1,000.
And then we should let the public bet on our bet.
But what do you mean? Like have people on both sides and then Venmo us money?
Yeah, let the spread move internally.
What do you got for your third game?
My third is going to be. See, I'm torn. I always want to bet a Bucks game because I know I'm always so entrenched in what's going on, but this one's a little tough. I think I'm actually, based on the current news as of right now on Wednesday afternoon, I'm picking Carolina purely based on the evidence that Justin Fields is probably not going to play tomorrow night.
So you're playing the Thursday night game. We're recording this Wednesday night. I also leaned Carolina, but I swear I keep seeing reports that he's playing. I also dropped in fantasy. I hate fantasy, but I did drop the backup because I thought
I know for a fact. I checked today. He was limited in practice today and yesterday.
Okay.
His injury is a right thumb, throwing thumb, still in pain,
He,
obviously.
he
He is
doesn't
a
throw
running
much.
quarterback,
Yeah.
but he still has to be able to throw the ball. And if he's limited in practice 2 days before, I don't know. I don't think if you look at the numbers and really dive into last week's game with Carolina, if Bryce Young could just not throw pick sixes, that
Sure.
game would have been close.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't watch a
So if
lot
he,
of the
if
game. I was on an airplane, but I did see a lot of highlights and I saw all the interceptions. Does
they,
it do,
they go ahead.
does it scare you when a team loses like that? Their new offensive coordinator, or whatever, is like on all gears. It scares me that Bryce Young's losing his confidence. And listen, Justin Fields probably should have lost his confidence 3 years ago because he's been so bad for the last few years. But it worries me that number one overall pick is playing the way he's playing and throwing a lot of interceptions. And then CJ Stroud is out there just slinging balls and not throwing interceptions. It scares me because it feels the the variance between the 1 and 2 is so different because there's so many more interceptions on the number one overall pick. And it worries me that he's like, yes, he's trying to make up ground and win the game, but he keeps throwing interceptions. And that's what scares me, that this game could be like Bears look good when they're good. And Carolina has never looked as good as what I thought the Bears looked this season when they were like actually firing in all cylinders. This is a scary game. This is a Thursday night game. Anything could happen.
It is that there's a saying in football.
Oh,
It's any given Sunday.
oh wow, Sam. Thanks
And
for
I think
wow. All
so.
right.
At any given Sunday, people could
Yeah,
just wake up and start playing well and turn things around. And I think
it's true.
Bryce. I'm not a huge fan of him, but they are starting to utilize him a lot better. Getting him outside the pocket, throwing screens, not just sitting back like he's Peyton Manning, like 6'5" and just can't move.
Yeah.
So I think they're utilizing him a little better. He got into a weird position, throwing picks and getting behind, which isn't where he wants to be. That offense will work well if they can run the ball and not play from behind. Chicago, I know, has looked good at times, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not really a good team.
They're not. I would say these both are pretty bottom of the barrel teams here playing each other. So it's a hard game
They are,
to bet
but
on.
any given Sunday, I'm
I
betting on
I
Bryce
know.
Young waking up and them running the ball.
Okay. Okay. All right. And you're gonna put this in the contest. You're gonna play Thursday night football in the contest.
I'm 95% sure. I'm waiting on the
Okay.
Justin Fields confirmation. If Justin Fields is not playing, I'm betting Carolina for sure. But if
Okay.
Fields, that makes a difference. Big
Yeah, I
difference,
agree.
actually.
I would play it too if he's not playing. I just thought he was playing, and that's why I dropped that back up in fantasy. All right. My third was Detroit, so we don't have to talk about that. I agree with you on all the points.
Let's
My
talk about.
fourth, which
Okay,
one?
I think I already know which one it is.
I was gonna go with
Jacksonville.
my yeah, I was gonna go with my fourth pick. Jacksonville. I like Jacksonville at home. Uh, they've been traveling a lot. A lot of things have been going on. San Francisco's back off the bye. Jacksonville is a 2.5 point underdog at home. San Francisco's lost the last 3 games. I talked about this with J Dog on Monday. I still think something's wrong with Brock Purdy. That head injury, he has not been right. He's been throwing interceptions since he got that concussion. This game worries me for San Francisco because I know they just got Chase Young. I know they're ready to play. They have defensive guys on both sides. They everything on paper should say you take San Francisco here, but I do think Jags have quietly been like sneaking up, playing really good defense. I like the Jags at home. I think it's a big game for San Francisco to kind of see like what is Brock Purdy doing, and I'm a big Brock Purdy fan. I just don't know if this is the game that he comes back because something's wrong. That head injury was not good.
Yeah, sometimes concussions can like linger too, and when it comes to decision making and mental abilities, that's a pretty big factor for a quarterback. I don't.
I
I want
agree.
to. I want to take Jacksonville. I'm probably going to put this one in at 2.5. But it is scary because San Fran's defense is too good, and Jacksonville has looked really good at times, but they've also looked really mediocre.
Sure.
And if they stop the run, which is if you look at the last couple of weeks, what made Jacksonville pretty successful is ETN finally taken off and playing really well. So if they slow down ETN, I don't know, you think they could do it in the air against San Fran?
Probably
It's
not,
the D
but
is scary.
I just think that if these other teams are coming into San Francisco and being able to beat San Francisco, I think the Jags have enough talent on both sides to be able to keep it close. We're not saying Jacksonville has to win. They just have to win by 2.5 points. So these games are getting weird, and the lines are getting closer. And I just know as the season goes on, Vegas really narrows it down, and it starts getting really hard to pick a side because on paper, San Francisco is a better team. There is no doubt in anybody's mind that San Francisco should be the winner in this game. But like you said, Sam, any given Sunday, right?
At any given Sunday. I don't know. I think it's all about Brock. If Brock is the old Brock, yeah, it's San Fran all day. But who knows what Brock is showing up?
Exactly.
Maybe the bad Brock.
Agree. Bad Brock might be showing up this week. All right, who you got for your last and final confidence this week?
I'm not going to bet this game, but I'm borderline because it's my team. But Tampa at home versus Tennessee, getting 1.5 points. I think the offense, like I said last week, the offense was going to turn it around. The offense turned it around. The defense took a big flaming shit, but Jamel Dean was out, one of our number one corners from this first drive. Carlton Davis was then the only decent corner we had left. He got lit up all day. It was bad game planning. But Tennessee is a run. I mean, you have Levis coming in. He's looked really good the last couple of weeks for a rookie. Yes. But I think we still have playmakers. We're still a decent defense, even though we looked like crap last week. But I think Tampa at home squeezes this one out. I think holds up that run against Tennessee, gets the passing game going like it did last week. 1.5 points is not much. They just need to win by 3. I think we get it done.
I wrote down here, Tampa Bay rush D is bottom 5 and their pass D is bottom 10. And that just made me.
They are statistically, yeah.
Yeah. So that just made me lean the Tennessee. Made me lean the Tennessee, and I liked it. I like the unknown of that new quarterback. I think the unknowns are a big factor when you're playing the game. That guy's got a big arm, and it just feels like the team is finally like clicking. It feels good. So we'll see. I don't know.
They finally have a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. That's what looks good
and make decisions.
Yeah. I mean, he's looked good, but I mean, I'm a little biased, so I'm trying not to bet this game because I don't want my bias to kick in. But I like Tampa here.
On my little perceived value thing, I didn't update the stats this week, but perceived value wise, there's a 1.5 of value on Tampa because I have them. This game should be -3.5, and we're getting it at -1.5. And I don't know what the current line is, but on my little sheet here, that's what we're giving them. Let me see where the current line is. Current line is where's the current line's still 1.5, and 70% of the money is on Tennessee. So you might be right with him.
People are jumping on the Levis train. I mean, he's bound to have a fuck
good.
Up. I mean, he's a rookie. The offense is finally clicking. Now the defense just has to be mediocre, and 1.5 is not much.
I agree.
But I like Tampa here.
All right, my last and final pick is the Seattle Seahawks. This one's tough. Seattle's at home, -6.5, playing Washington. Washington's been looking really good. Sam Howell is, slinging the ball around. The one stat that I like, we have compiled stats on our little data sheet here. And we have one that's like, if teams lost by 10 or more, they're 36-18 against the spread. I also wrote down something's very weird about this line because it seems like a lot of points for Seattle. And after they lost last week to the Ravens and Washington winning. So I don't really know what's going on with this line. I don't know if the line has moved at all. My initial reaction was just like bet Seattle just because of that stat line, because that's something that's like over 60%. And what scares me is this is crazy. 93% of the bets and 89% of the money is all in Seattle. I might get off Seattle just because of that right there. And the public's been pretty good though. They haven't lost a lot of games, and that's what scares me.
There's something about this game. It just smells. There's something off.
Yeah. Washington.
I like Seattle, but they've had some. They've looked good. They've looked bad. They're up and down. Yeah. Washington, I don't know how looks decent still. I mean, I don't know. I don't like the 6.5. If it was like 5.
I agree. It's a little weird. Way too much money. Way too much money on Seattle. I might jump off this game. And And we'll see. I mean, it's early in the week. So as we get more, if it's raining in Seattle, stuff like that, Washington has to fly all the way across the country to come to Seattle. It's at home. I mean, I have value on Seattle here at a 1.5. So it should be an 8-point game. And we're getting them at 6.5. And the line has the line moved? The line's at 6. So hasn't really moved. It moved a half point, but yeah, weird week. This week I think is hard because I think there's a lot of good teams on both sides, and the line is pretty sharp.
Yeah, at surface level when you first look, I had some favorites, and you start diving into it, and it gets a little more difficult. Like the next game we could talk about,
Sure.
I've thought about for a little bit. I've gone back and forth, but Atlanta at Arizona with Kyler coming back.
I'm not even betting that game. It's a half point. I would say you fade Kyler coming back, right? You fade the QB playing after that injury.
It's so difficult, but you remember how good he is at times and how electric he is with his feet and how he makes plays. So it's like, what if he may run for 150 yards and score 3 touchdowns.
I will say on Friday this week, on November 10th, the new Call of Duty comes out. And there is a stat about Kyler Murray and new Call of Duty. When it comes out, he plays terrible that following Sunday when a new Call of Duty comes out. Look that up. That's a real stat line. Anytime a new Call of Duty, anytime a new Call, because he plays all night. He's up playing all night. This man has been on vacation for weeks, and you better believe he's going to be playing. I mean, not vacation, but he's not been doing much from that injury. So
but Mike,
this game scares me.
Any given Sunday, a playmaker can make plays.
I'm staying far away from this game. There's not enough value. The line was already set, and I think it moved a little bit. I think you're getting a better line if you're like actually betting the game this week. What is the line right now?
It's at 1.5 now on
one
most
and a
of
half.
the big books. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm staying away from it.
I'm not betting it either. I think it's just interesting, and I found it like tough because I started thinking about it, and I started getting on one side, and then I'm like, that's crazy. Then I got on the other, and
that's what happens.
It's interesting. I'm excited to see Kyler come back. I mean, he's fun to watch.
If he's the same Kyler. It takes him a while to get in.
He's going to be rusty, but yeah, he's a playmaker.
I agree. All right, Sam. Well, these were all our picks. We talked almost about 10 games. We'll keep track. You're doing pretty well in the contest. I'm not doing very well. Somebody just won the quarter. I want to have him on. Yossi won the quarter. He did really, really well. He did I think he was 15-6 or something like that. It's pretty good. It was a great stat.
He had a bounce back quarter. Didn't he have a pretty rough first quarter?
Yeah, and now he's catching up with everybody. So that shows you any quarter you could just jump to first place in this league, and it's tough. So I got to also post this somewhere publicly so people can kind of see where everybody's at. It's really tight. Like everybody's within 20 to 25 wins, so anybody can jump to first this week, basically.
There's a couple stragglers at the bottom. Like your co-host.
Well, J-Dog. J-Dog's down there.
J-Dog, you know too much about football to be this bad at betting it. Come on.
He's pretty bad. Even though he has 20 wins and 25 losses, it's not that crazy. But, and where are you, Sam? Sam, you have 25 wins and 20 losses. It's just it's 1 week, basically. Yeah. 1 week difference.
Yeah. Any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday. All right. Everybody go check out the sportshangover.com. Follow us on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. Just go to Sports Hangover. All the clips are out there. That's where we're getting all the comments, Sam. People are commenting on your videos and your stats. So follow us there. A lot of new content coming. All right. Good job.